Hi guys, my name is Cassan and I'm making this video today because I want to talk to you about people being scared to invest in themselves. So whether this is you or whether it's your clients, people you're working with, and they're so scared to make the investment, to take the next step that they need to be successful. And you're probably racking your brain. You're like, why? Whether this is you or someone you know, you're just like, why am I so scared? Why can't I do this? Why won't they do this? It's a really big question, why people are scared to invest in themselves. And today I wanted to present you guys with a theory that I have. Just wanted to throw it out there. If you guys agree or disagree with me, I would love to hear all about it in your comments. But basically what my theory is that this goes back to a concept that Friedrich Nietzsche proposed. He's a German philosopher. He wrote a lot about morality, and in a lot of ways he wrote about why morality doesn't exist. So he proposed this story about types of morality that we have as human beings, and he broke it down into slave and master morality. So basically what this means is master morality was things like power, nobility, money, wealth, confidence, pride, being the best you can be, having the most you can have. That was what master morality was. And so basically his theory was that slaves couldn't have any of those things. And so they created a morality, or the masters created this morality. It was a dual effort. Basically the slave morality vilifies the master, but the master uses slave morality to control the slaves. So slave morality is things like humility and contentment and hard work and obedience and kindness and forgiveness. So you're probably hearing these lists and you're like, some of those things are good, some of those things are bad. Anyways, the point of it isn't to decide which morality was right, because neither of them believed was a universally objective morality. They were systems that were put in place based on value. So it really broke down to master morality being good and bad outcomes, and slave morality being good and evil intentions. So basically, their morality was what made them feel better about their state. And so we don't have slaves anymore, but I think a lot of these ideas really carried into where we are today. So what I mean by that is I think there is a romanticization of slave morality. And some of those things are good and some of them aren't. But I think some of those ideas of working hard and being obedient and doing what you're supposed to and not being wealthy, those things, like, they're ingrained in us as good things you should have, you should be content with. And so in our culture, it's not so much slave versus master morality, but a romanticization of poverty. In real terms, that's what it is. And people are made to feel guilty for wanting something more than that. So I kind of made a list of 3 things that I think are being romanticized and pushed, and people feel like they are doing something wrong by getting away from these things. So the first one is hard work, which you have to work hard to be successful. Like, at some point you're going to have to put in the work. But hard work is not in and of itself of value. You are not doing something valuable because you are working hard. You are achieving valuable outcomes. The value isn't in hard work. Value is in the outcome you get from hard work, which is why it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. So if there's a way to get something done faster and more efficiently and better, that's the thing you ought to do. You should not feel guilty for giving up the hard work. And I think a lot of people do. They feel guilty for not putting in all of these hours at something that they feel like they're supposed to do because there's an easier way. And they feel guilty for looking for an easier way. People tell them, oh, don't be lazy. There's a difference between working smart and being lazy. And I think that's a really important distinction to make. Second one is contentment. So contentment and gratitude often get mixed up. People say, oh, be happy for what you have. Oh, just be grateful. Oh, why are you always talking about what you don't have? Well, it's not about talking about what you don't have. It's about having goals and aims and working forward, looking forward. You should not ever be content. You should always be grateful for what you have, and you should never be content with where you are, because contentment will never get you further. It will never push you. And I believe that it is human nature to move forward and to achieve goals in those ways. So, contentment is lazy. Contentment is stifling. And people get wrapped up in contentment and they feel guilty for wanting something more. But you should never feel guilty for not being content with where you are. Human nature has never been content with where it is. That's why we're not still living in grass huts, because some people were content, but some people weren't. And the people that weren't content are the ones that are moving the world forward. So don't mix contentment up with gratitude, but don't be content. Be aspirational. Be goal-oriented. Be aim-oriented. Want to move forward. Always be wanting to make your situation better. Always wanting to be in a better place. Another one is poverty. And so poverty you might not think of as something that's romanticized. You might think, oh, everyone thinks poverty is bad. But poverty doesn't just mean money. It means poverty of time, poverty of freedom, poverty of choices, poverty of financial means, financial resources. Poverty is lack. And it is romanticized. Just look at any country music song. The romanticization of poverty, it's in those songs. That working 9 to 5, that drinking class, that putting in my hours, that hard working man. They're romanticizing this idea of always living day to day, week to week. And once again, those guys are making millions and millions of dollars off those songs where they're singing about working 9 to 5 and working for the weekend. Well, newsflash, they're not. They are wealthy and living in abundance. And they are reinforcing the romanticization of poverty. And so when you have this romanticized idea of poverty, you're going to feel that guilt. You're going to feel a guilt for wanting to move outside of that, to not be impoverished of time and impoverished of money and impoverished of freedom. You're going to feel a guilt for those things. So that's what these things do. When these things are romanticized, we feel guilty. We feel bad. We let people make us feel bad for not wanting to do these things. So I think my point in this video is just that people are scared because they think there is something objectively good about being poor and about working 9 to 5 and not having your own time and giving all of your time and giving all of yourself to a boss or a master because there was a system put in place. And maybe it's not slaves and masters, but it's bosses and employees. It's governments and citizens. It's corporations and everyday people. It's big banks and consumers. And we have a choice. But sometimes we just need to think about these things in this way because as soon as you think about it, you realize you don't want to be impoverished. You realize that hard work isn't in and of itself valuable. You start to realize that you don't want to be content. You start to realize that there's not something moral about being content in your situation. You realize that you're grateful because gratitude is what will make your life better. You're grateful because your body and your mind needs to feel those things. And you need to appreciate what you have in order to move forward, in order to achieve your aims, you need that. You need to be grateful, but you never need to be content. You never need to stop aspiring, and you never need to live in poverty. You do not need to live in poverty to be a good person. There is nothing moral about poverty, and there is nothing romantic about poverty. Do not romanticize these ideas. So, whether it's you or whether it's your clients, when you're thinking about investing in yourself and investing in making yourself better or your business better, think about what morals and what ideas, what norms are guiding your decisions. Why aren't you investing in yourself? What are you scared of? What are you scared of losing? Because in a lot of cases, I think people are scared of losing poverty and hard work and lack of freedom and lack of money. They're scared of losing those things because it has been so drilled into them that those are good things and that they need to do those things and that there's something wrong with them for wanting more than that. And I think it's a simple principle that just needs to be called out. And I think that being aware of it is really all it takes to say no and to reassess why we make these types of decisions. So if you guys agree with me or disagree with me, I'd love to hear it. Leave me a comment. I'll definitely reply to them. So I hope this was helpful or at least interesting. Thanks for watching, guys.